Biden is delivering on his most far-fetched pledge, compromise. President Biden this week accomplished what America elected him to do, govern from the center and make deals that solve problems. Progressive Democrats don't seem to like that cooperative spirit, which is a big reason their candidates keep failing to become president. The agreement represents a compromise, which means not everyone gets what they want. That's the responsibility of governing, Biden said last weekend in announcing the deal to raise the debt ceiling. It's a defining Biden line. The president's congenital centrism is easy to criticize, especially in this era of hard, polarizing views. He's a conciliator, a dealmaker who likes to say yes and has trouble saying no. He's also risk-averse, and he avoids escalation when facing potential catastrophe, whether it's war with Russia or a budget default. But Biden's critics miss the glaringly obvious fact that he is behaving precisely as he said he would. His inaugural address was a pledge to restore normal order. "I know speaking of unity can sound to some like a foolish fantasy," he said, "but still, we can join forces, stop the shouting, and lower the temperature." Join forces with Republicans? Was Biden nuts? Yet gradually over the past 2 years, dodging brickbats from the left wing of his party, he has done it. First with a bipartisan infrastructure bill, then with a modest gun control measure, then with the Bipartisan CHIPS Act, and finally with the budget agreement. As Biden said on Wednesday, when the House passed the deal, "I have been clear that the only path forward is a bipartisan compromise that can earn the support of both parties." The most damning criticism of Biden's budget agreement is that he capitulated to Republican hostage-takers threatening to destroy the nation's financial health if they didn't get their way. Progressives wanted the president instead to roll the dice on the untested legal theory that 14th Amendment, which states that the validity of the public debt shall not be questioned, renders the debt limit unconstitutional. The deeper point is that the budget agreement wasn't capitulation but compromise. Biden got the essence of what he wanted, which was an extension of the debt limit without savage cuts to domestic spending. As for the GOP hostage-takers, it's true, and outrageous, that they were holding a gun to the nation's head. But as the FBI will tell you, in a hostage situation, someone needs to negotiate with the crazies, and keep talking until they agree to put down the gun. What I like best about this deal is that it begins to re-establish a broad bipartisan political center. In the House vote, the agreement was backed by 165 Democrats and 149 Republicans, for a total of about 2/3 of the chamber. The rejectionists included 46 Democrats and 71 Republicans, and a post-analysis showed that they skewed toward the more liberal and more conservative members of each party. From the start, Biden and his negotiating partner, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, Republican California, were under attack from their flanks. Democrats argued that negotiators should first agree on a clean debt ceiling extension and then dicker about spending, but Biden lost that round. Republicans wanted to gut non-defense spending, but McCarthy mostly caved on that one. One memorable moment in the budget drama came when Representative Chip Roy, Republican Texas, one of the most fanatical GOP diehards, sputtered that the deal was a turd sandwich. Well, a majority of Republicans decided to eat it. And please, Democrats, trimming federal spending is not evil. Biden was right to endorse the GOP demand to restrain spending, and temper it so it did the least damage. The ever-growing federal debt, and the crushing interest on it, pose a threat to the nation's financial security. Smart Democrats should plant their flag as the party of fiscal responsibility, ready to raise taxes on wealthy Americans, cut pork-barrel defense spending and reform entitlements. The deal enhances the stature of the centrist Democrats and Republicans who call themselves the Problem Solvers Caucus, perhaps the least inspiring political moniker of our time. The group of 64 members, evenly split between RS and DS, provided the backbone for compromise. This vote will happen from the middle out, predicted Representative Josh Gottheimer, Democrat New Jersey, the group's co-chair. And so it did. Biden's atavistic embrace of McCarthy, two white, male Irish Catholics cutting a deal in private, is hardly the summit of American politics. But it was a good faith negotiation that solved a big problem. "My whole soul is in this, bringing America together," Biden said at his inauguration. He meant it, and this week he delivered. Biden is delivering on his most far-fetched pledge, compromise. President Biden this week accomplished what America elected him to do: govern from the center and make deals that solve problems. Progressive Democrats don't seem to like that cooperative spirit, which is a big reason their candidates keep failing to become president. The agreement represents a compromise, which means not everyone gets what they want. That's the responsibility. The empire of racial preferences strikes back. Even if the Supreme Court rules against using race in college admissions, some schools plan to ignore it. Any day now, the Supreme Court will issue landmark rulings on the constitutionality and statutory compliance of using racial preferences in college admissions. And already the empire is fighting back. No place is more institutionally invested in using race to determine outcomes than our college campuses. The betting is that the High Court will come down against what the Chief Justice once called the sordid business of divvying us up by race. But the universities are even now planning workarounds that will allow them to continue to do what they've been doing, albeit in a sneakier way. The two cases involve a private school, Harvard, and a public one, the University of North Carolina. Students for fair admissions sued both, claiming Harvard discriminated against Asian American applicants and UNC discriminated against both Asians and whites. When the court took the case, Lawrence Tribe told the Harvard Crimson that even if the university lost, not much would change. Universities as intelligent as Harvard will find ways of dealing with the decision without radically altering their composition, the Harvard law professor emeritus told the Crimson. But they will have to be more subtle than they have been thus far. David Bernstein, a law professor at George Mason University, agrees. Some universities will just keep doing what they do until they get sued, he told the Daily Caller, especially because there's not much of a likelihood that any individual university will get sued, unless they announce publicly that they are refusing to comply with a Supreme Court's opinion. The first hint of defiance comes from the Fourth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in a case involving Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology. The Fairfax County, Virginia, magnet school has regularly been ranked top in the nation. But its school board had a problem. The merit-based entrance system produced a student body that was almost 3/4 Asian American, while the percentage of African American students was too tiny to report. The school board's answer in 2020 was to do away with the entrance exam, cap the number of students from schools that had historically sent the most students to TJ while setting aside seats for 1.5% of every 8th grade class so that students from less successful schools would be admitted. It worked as planned. Asian Americans dropped from 73% of the student body to 54%, making room for every other group: whites, blacks, and Latinos.